I would say most of the things we talk about in this podcast, you can say that there is some subjectivity to
Mhm.
them because it's hard to know what is really objective in this world, what is objective reality.
Mhm.
But we've talked about this a lot before, and you've been getting a lot to philosophy
Mhm.
again, how there are certain things in the world that are actually, not related to who you are or who am I. It's more, it's bigger than us. And it's kind of obvious that these things exist not necessarily with our existence, but they are outside of us. And these things are called laws of the universe. And
Mhm.
there is a lot of different laws. Some of them we know about, some of them maybe we didn't even discover yet.
Mhm.
And we figured that there are 4 different laws that we both agree that they are the most important, at
Mhm.
least from our perspective. So I'm just going to let you start with the first law.
The first law is the law of polarity. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead just so we can have a little bit of back and forth
Mhm.
here. What do you know about the law of polarity?
We've talked about this even in the podcast before,
We
like
did.
Taoism, the yin and yang,
Mhm.
the opposites, that there's left and there's right, bad and good. Everything has the
Mhm.
opposite. Everything has the thing that keeps it balanced, and just a different side of the same coin.
Exactly. So the law of polarity, or another name for it, is the law of opposites.
Mhm.
Exactly. Literally, the name just describes what the law is. Everything gets opposite, and without the opposite, there wouldn't be existing.
Mhm.
So you know how we always say, if all people are good, then what is good?
Exactly. You don't know how to define it.
Exactly. And one of the philosophers, I really don't remember who their name was. I'm gonna make the assumption that it was Alan Watts, but I'm not certain.
Mhm.
He said that once you define yourself as such, everything that you're not is gonna everything that which is you're not is gonna get attracted to you.
Yeah.
It's literally the law of oppositeness. So without the yang, the yin wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And without the yin, the yang wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And if one of the fishes ate the other one and the whole pot became one color, then you can even start questioning what color is this
Yeah.
and whether what exists.
They go together, and it's you can approach it. I mean, I'm talking about this because I've been working on a video lately where I'm talking about the relation between joy and pain,
Mhm.
and how you have to go through many different pains and struggles in life to start even appreciating these
Mhm.
happy and joyful moments that you have in the first place. And it's just a one big example of that, because sometimes we try to avoid pain and run away from it and to have only happy moments, which is just not possible. You
Mhm.
have to go through bad things in order to understand and appreciate the good things in your life. And you can apply that to
Definitely.
anything in life.
That's
Everything
also
has an opposite,
experience.
no matter what it is.
Because the experience also kind of humbles you.
Mhm.
And at the same time, it's not that just the experience only humbles you, but the experience kind of also broadens up your perspective
Mhm.
and your spectrum, if that's what you want to call it, on how to perceive things. It's just like, since it the different experiences, especially the pain, makes you kind of realize that at some point, I guess, after you go through so much pain or through too much suffering, you start realizing that you can also choose what not to suffer about, or in Mark Manson's words, what not to give a fuck about.
Mhm.
And that's kind of, for me at least, that's the way that I look at the law of polarity, which is, since everything got its opposites, and the opposites is just going to broaden the spectrum of it and the experience of it, then then the same thing applies for all of our thoughts, experiences, and emotions.
Yeah.
And we can kind of choose what to focus on,
Sure.
which is the silver lining, or we can get the negative aspect of life, if that's what you want to call it, be a reminder that there's an opposite there and there's going to be a good side of life
Exactly.
as well.
Reminder. Yeah. Yeah. Like, this is the thing, because most of us either don't want to admit that there's an opposite to what we are experiencing, or we're just ignorant about it. And I think when we have it in mind and accept it, that, okay, I have a good experience and it has this completely opposite thing, this really catastrophic thing that could happen at any moment, just keeping that in mind makes you appreciate the moment even more. And you actually live in the moment more often, because this is the essence of life in the first place. And like, you can also take it to life and death. You're alive because there is death, and you wouldn't understand what it means to be alive if you didn't know that death exists, that non-existence is something in the world, you know?
It's like if you lived forever, then
Yeah.
a lot of people say
Then you wouldn't
And-
appreciate life in the first place.
exactly. Like, this is what a lot of people say, and I kind of agree to it. But at the same time, the other part of me is like, nah, I would love to live for eternity.
Mhm.
But regardless of all of that, it's knowing that there's an end to this.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's an opposite of our existence, which is death, is kind of what makes us appreciate life and kind of gets us going in directions that we want to go into.
Yeah.
Because if you knew that you lived forever, whatever forever here means, you're just gonna end up postponing everything and being like, okay, I'm gonna do it next time, I'm gonna do it next week,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna start losing a sense of years, decades,
And
whatever.
let's not forget that forever is just a concept, because
it is just a concept.
It doesn't really
Mhm.
exist. You know, it's the same when we start to imagine what happens when we are dead. You know,
Mhm.
like there's this vast darkness and we can't see anything. But this is also a concept, because death is not that. Death is
Mhm.
just non-existent, and this is something we can't imagine because we exist.
When you exist, death does not exist.
Yeah.
Like literally, this is the definition of it. Like, because you exist, death is not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once you're dead, you are not.
I had that
And-
quote on WhatsApp once, like, just, you know,
See?
I've always believed in that. Like,
See?
when I exist, death is not. You know, it's like, it's really the essence of life. You can apply the same on anything
Mhm.
when in life.
This leads us to the second law, which we were talking about.
It doesn't lead though.
It kind of does, because we're talking about the opposites here, which is the good and the bad.
Kind of.
And now we're going to the
okay.
law of relativity, which is that
Okay.
nothing is good or bad. It's all just relative.
Yeah, I mean, this one is also, when you think about it, it's obvious, but because of our subjective experience, it's hard to comprehend morally, I guess, for most people, because of our subjective experience, that we want things to be good or bad. We don't want to think that these bad things are objectively neutral.
Not so bad.
You know, not
Yeah.
necessarily. It's just our experience.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that is happening in nature. And it is all relative to our experience, how we
Mhm.
perceive it. Even the same thing, we could perceive it as bad. For other people, it's good for some
Mhm.
reason, for some part of their own experience. And it is all connected in a way that, like, for some people, a problem could be really small, and you could ask another person, and it could be something that is really big and really catastrophic in their lives.
Yeah, definitely. I find it, I think it's like related to, which I've already mentioned like multiple times so far. I think it's related to your experience, to who you are, your perspective, and a lot of other things. The way that I look at it, though, is, which is a little bit, I guess, nihilistic again, is that things are not necessarily good or bad.
Yeah.
Things are just things, just how things or how life works, I guess. In the sense of anything that happens to us, we tend to judge it.
Yeah.
Or maybe look at it from our perspective. And when you try to, because at the end of the day, so right now I'm having the problem in my head how to describe this in a way that would make sense. Life without the extra spices in it is boring.
Sure.
And we need the spices to make life seem a little bit more attractive.
But the spices are kind of our manifestation.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. The spice are technically our emotions, our drama, our fears, our enjoyments, our this and this, And without them, life is boring. And we want life to be a little bit more stimulating. We want to be able to have more fun.
More
We want to be
interesting.
able to be more engaged with life.
Yeah, more drama.
And that's why we kind of tend to look at things as good or bad and look at them from our perspective. Because the second that you start looking at things in a way, in an objective matter, so you look at something, I don't know, say you lost your job. And it's a job that you love, it's a job that you care about, it was your dream job or whatever, and you got fired for some reason. It is in that moment, you're gonna have a lot of emotions in you, and you're gonna be feeling devastated, broke, whatever you want to call it. Like, depends on your experience. But from an objective point of view, you don't really lose anything because the job was not even yours to begin with, and it was just an opportunity out of probably
Exactly.
millions of
It's
opportunities.
just the emotions that you were attaching yourself to it, and yeah.
And then we got the problem that once we look at it in an objective manner, of like, okay, it's just a job that I lost, then at least I have that tendency that I start wondering if I'm gaslighting myself into not feeling my emotions.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not like I'm feeling emotions when, unless it's something huge, of course, then sure. But when it comes to many things that are out of my control, at least, I look at them in an objective way. And then sometimes that could lead us to questioning whether we are living or whether we are just existing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we all go back to, okay, what's good, what's bad, and we forget that there's an objective point of view and that things are neither good or bad, but things are just things.
I think keeping the law of relativity in mind is good to detach ourselves from our experience, whether
Definitely.
it's a good experience or a bad experience, just to detach ourselves from that and remember that it's not going to last. There will be another moment where we will have a different kind of experience, and keeping that in mind, that no matter how bad the thing that we're going through or no matter how good, it has an end point, and these emotions that we're feeling will pass and we will feel something else. And that's always good to keep in mind. You know, it's, you're still living in the moment, you're still experiencing what you're experiencing, but having this bigger picture can really help you keep things in perspective and just move on with your life.
It kind of gives you a sense of inner peace, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, because it helps you, like you said, detach, and there's, you know, a little bit of distance between you and what's going on. And then that leads to you.
Exactly. The distance is just really important.
There's like a gap that just gives you the room and the space you need to calm down, look at things from a different perspective, and remember that, okay, this is how things, or this is how life works, I guess.
But I'm also trying to say that even if the experience is good, sometimes it's good to detach, that you don't hang on too tightly to it, because when it ends, you're going to be devastated. You're going to be really disappointed. So whether it's a good or bad experience, it's good to have this kind of detachment, keeping things in mind, that things are not going to last, that things don't necessarily have meaning. They are not necessarily good or bad. They're just something that is happening. They're just an experience that we're going through. So I guess this leads us to, I would say this law is more your wheelhouse. So maybe you should start with this one, the law of attraction, or the law of vibration, you could call it.
There's many different names for it, but for some reason, at some point when I started connecting the laws, I've started kind of assuming or making the assumptions for myself that they're all the same, just different names.
Yeah, sure.
Which is law of cause and effect, law of attraction, or law of vibration. If we're going to talk about the law of vibration, or if we're just going to talk about vibration, then we're going to go with your wheelhouse, which is physics and how every cell, how we're made out of cells, and every cell in our body vibrates at a certain level. It's been said, I haven't seen it myself, I've read about it. So a couple of documentaries as well, how if you put a human being in a dark room and use specific cameras or lenses to see the body, you know, you're going to be seeing lights, which are the vibrations that are being made out of your body. And the law of vibration literally just says, from a physical matter, you can even look at it and explain the law through physics, which is that everything vibrates, everything is in motion in life. And things tend to attract each other when they are of similar vibrations. So what the law technically says is that once you get your body to vibrate at a specific level, you can start attracting things that you want in your life, which is the cause and effect. I can connect it to many, many, many things, but then it's going to be an ending loop. So I'm just going to try to summarize it in a little bit, and then you can also say what you think about it.
Sure.
The way that I look at it is, once you bring yourself to vibrate at a specific frequency, however you do that, I've got no clue. But once you bring yourself to vibrate at a specific frequency that relates to something, you usually do that by thinking and imagining yourself doing something, and also adapting the mentality and the mindset needed to achieve something. So you instantly get into the mood, or in the mode of doing the thing that is related to your goal.
Sure.
And by doing that, you kind of also attracting the goal to you, because you're not just trying to chase it, but you're setting yourself on the path to get to that goal. You're not just walking aimlessly.
Mhm.
And again, that's the connection to the cause and effect, because now when you're thinking about it, you're putting yourself into the mindset. That's when you're starting to cause a difference in your life.
Positive thoughts bring positive things.
Exactly.
Yes. I mean, this law is something that I used to think it's nonsense. It's
Mhm.
just magic. It's just people just telling themselves things and thinking that what they will think about is going to come true. I used to think it's magic, but since I started to read a lot of Joe Dispenza's work and
Mhm.
many others who, like even people who have disabilities, like they had an accident where they can't walk anymore, and they because of their positive mindset and belief in themselves, they start to heal their wounds in some way, and there's evidence to that, and you can apply it to anything. Even many people who are depressed, there are some of them who start to change and start to have this positive thinking, and in a matter of short time they completely shift the way they think, and they start to attract the things that they want in their lives, and their lives actually completely transform. While
It's like-
other people remain in their own way of thinking, the negative thinking, and just beating themselves up, and they keep being stuck in the same loops
It's
and
like you're-
negative thought patterns.
It's like you've got an old school radio or
Yeah.
or a car radio even, you know, and you've got multiple different channels, and every channel is talking about something different.
Sure.
Some channels are about this, some channels are about this, some channels give you happy music or happy vibes, some make you depressed. And it's just the tuning that you do so you can get to the level of vibration of that specific
Yeah.
channel that's going to give you the mood for the ride. And
Sure,
it's the
that's a
same,
good example. Yeah.
It's the same for life.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just that, look at it, you can also look at it like this, like the question that matters. You can also look at it from a different perspective, which is, where do thoughts come from? Because it's not like we generate thoughts.
Mm-mm.
You know, thoughts just come to our head. And if thoughts are coming into our brains from the outside, then there's an
It's a
endless
different-
amount of thoughts, a limitless amount of thoughts, you know? So how is our brain kind of filtering what thoughts are coming in and what thoughts are not coming in? It's just like when you're
Mindset.
happy, when you're in a good mood, or things are going well for you, you don't get as many negative thoughts.
Yeah.
Why?
Mindset. I would
Not
say
just mindset. It's because if you want to look at it from the law of vibration, and the physic part of it is that thoughts are energy, and energy vibrates. And once you are in a similar mood, if that's how we're going to put it, only the thoughts that are of the similar frequency that your brain is vibrating on, those are the thoughts that are going to go into your brain. It's not like you're technically attracting, it's just that thoughts exist anyways, and they're just all crossing your brain. But because you are tuned to a specific frequency channel, those are the only thoughts that the brain
It's
is able
kind
to
of related.
process right
Kind
now.
of related to attention as well, because you notice when you learn a new word, for example, when you're walking in the street, you start to hear it more often than before.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Exactly.
it's not that you're actually hearing it more often, but you have
You've
more.
never realized, you've never noticed it before.
Exactly. So you put more attention to this word because it's occupying more space in your mind, and you start hearing it everywhere.
Definitely.
You know? Or in the same in video game, when you have a mission, you need to search for a certain car, and
you start finding it.
Exactly.
It's like if you're looking for a stone on
even
the
though you
street.
didn't know it exists before.
Exactly. It's like, who talked about that? Was it Jay Shetty who took it as an example from one of his books? Who said that in the monastery, in the monks' monastery, they were asked to look for a new stone every day, and every day they went out to do some chores. Don't remember what the chores were, and they were asked to find a new stone at the end of the trip every day.
And they would actually
find new stones every day, even though they've walked the same path for I don't know how long. And until they were asked to start looking for the stones, for a new stone every day, they never even noticed that there were so many different stones. They all thought, okay, just like, stones, pebbles on the road, it doesn't matter. But once they tuned their consciousness onto the stones, they started noticing the differences in the stones, the different shapes, the different colors, the different this and this. It's the tuning, because.
But that's why attention is our most useful and powerful asset. Because attention is kind of everything. Where you put your attention, whether it's in your thoughts or in the external world, it's all connected, and you will manifest the things that you're actually thinking about. And this is not magic. This is just an objective truth at this point, I would say.
I've also heard something that we control our thoughts, or we can control our thoughts by the tuning or by conscious decision of controlling what to think. And our thoughts control our feelings, and our feelings control our actions.
Kind of true.
It's a chain effect that starts
You ever
by...
read about cognitive behavior therapy? That's exactly the essence of it. Just the relation between your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions.
Exactly.
Your thoughts control your emotions, how your emotions control your actions.
Exactly.
That's really about it. This whole, this part of psychology.
It's technically kind of how the subconscious mind also works.
Yeah.
Because you're consciously choosing the thoughts, and then the subconscious mind will be turning these thoughts into emotions. And then the emotions are going to be the reason to why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
So it all starts with your thoughts. And to control your thoughts, you need to understand attention and how it works, how to tune it for your benefit, the things you want to focus on. You know, we talked about influence in the past as well. Like if you keep scrolling on social media, on TikTok or whatever, and you're watching news, then automatically your thoughts are going to be tuned to more negative things, negative news. And so you will attract more negative things in your life, and you will see more negative things around you. It's
like when you're having a bad day. Look at it like this. When you're having a really bad day, and even if anything like just drops from you, you drop your keys, you're going to be freaking enraged about it. Even though you could be dropping your keys every day. And most of the days, that wouldn't even annoy you. Oh, well, I dropped my keys. I'm just going to pick them up. But on that specific day, you were already so much in your head, and you were having such a bad day that just dropping the key...
And it could be the one thing that spirals your mind. Or control.
You explode. Even though just a minor thing that doesn't bother you usually. But because you were tuning yourself, or because you were more focused and giving more attention to the negatives and the bad, that last thing was like your last straw of the day.
Exactly.
You explode. So it's
kind of all connected. And speaking of connection, I want to talk a little bit about the final law, which is the law of unity, or you can call it the law of oneness, which is that everything that we have done, everything that we are doing, or what we will do in the future is kind of connected in one big thing. And I'm not saying here that there is destiny or that there is some person who's watching us and writing everything. This is not necessarily what I'm talking about. Just you can see it in the butterfly effect way. I don't know, maybe some people have watched the Butterfly Effect movie or have read about the concept before, how when a butterfly flip its wings, it might cause a tornado somewhere else in the world. And that's kind of true, because just think about when we started as humans, we probably didn't have many tools, and there weren't many things happening in the world, and we just started to make fire and build simple tools, and all of these simple small steps led to where we are now. And you can even go before human beings, like that the dinosaurs were extinct, and some species were extinct, and other species became more prominent, and that led to human existing, and just so many things that we can't even start to comprehend, but they were the cause to what is happening now, and it is all connected in one big bubble.
I also look at it, it's like, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the podcast before, but think about it like this. If thousands of years ago, a certain person didn't die, you wouldn't exist today.
Yeah.
Because it's the fact that somebody died, which led to, I don't know, maybe your great-great-great-grandparents meeting, because else one of them would have been with this person who died, and then that what started your, family tree. If wars didn't happen in the past, if, I don't know, businesses didn't succeed in the past, if you change, it's like, look at it from Marvel or superhero movies. If you go in the past and you just move the table, like, you're just moving the table like this, it's like the whole universe changed, even though you just moved something small.
Yeah.
Why? Because
you completely shifted the timeline.
Exactly. Somebody maybe is going to trip with it, hit the floor, and die.
Look at it.
Look at it from an extreme point of view. Yeah. Or maybe somebody is going to end up putting the table back to its place, and because they did that, they didn't get into the accident they were supposed to because they were delayed like for a few
You
seconds.
can even have darker examples, like, you know, where the Vikings would go to villages, in the
Mhm.
English villages, and they would rape the woman.
Mhm.
And not only the Vikings, there's many tribal people and
Mhm.
many wars. They would just go and rape the woman,
Mhm.
and these women become pregnant and become kids. And maybe
Exactly.
most of these kids were responsible that we exist right
Mhm.
now. You know, it is something dark. And I'm not saying that it's good that these things happen, but it's kind of a positive silver lining you can just think about, that no matter what happens in the world, it's kind of meant to happen, and it will lead the things that will happen anyway. And this is a timeline that you can't shift. You can't go back in time, at least not yet. And I don't think you will be able to go back in time. Who knows? Who
That's a
knows?
different topic because if you get there, I'm not going to be stopping
If
talking
this
about
is,
time.
but if this is actually a law in the universe, then I don't think you can go back in time.
I'm trying to avoid opening the subject of time right now because if
It's
I
a big
do,
one.
it's going to be a long discussion.
We can make it for another podcast episode.
But at the end of the day, I look at it like you don't know if you will ever be able to go back in time because no one has ever been there, so we don't know that. The possibility is there because you can never say never.
Even if it's possible, why haven't it happened yet? Or did it happen already? We just don't know.
There's a lot of questions when it comes to that subject.
It's very convoluted.
But based on what we know right now, or based on what we know so far, or on how things have seemed to be, we know that the law of unity does exist, and it does change a lot of things in our lives.
At
It
least
doesn't
in our
matter.
understanding.
Exactly. But I feel like denying something just because the possibility that something might change it is a little bit too. I used to do that myself a lot in the past, but then I realized that it doesn't lead anywhere.
It doesn't lead,
because
I feel like it's more questionable. You know, like it's more maybe there is more to this. You know, but I can't say the same thing about the law of polarity. It's like something I'm like, yeah, this. There's no way.
I'm pretty sure somebody will find something to be like, oh, this got no opposite.
Maybe.
But, maybe then they're going off the trail and they're just talking about something that's man-made that doesn't have its opposite,
I guess you could say the same thing. It's the same when we talk about gravity. Like,
exactly.
We know it exists, but what if there's something more we just don't know about?
Exactly.
Bigger than everything that could shatter all these things, you know, in our face, and nothing is true. We don't like. There's always room. I guess there's always room.
There's always room to question, but at the same time, there's no need. I look at it like there's no need to question or deny something.
Yeah.
Because you're not sure. Because I do this a lot. That's why I'm saying it. Because at the end of the day, if that's how you're gonna look at it, then you can end up questioning everything else in life. And that's when you kind of start getting a little bit nihilistic.
But it's kind of, so you can say the same. Like, I know many people in my life, and some of them are my very close friends, who don't believe so much in science because science don't tell you everything, or just not sure. But at least the way I see it, science is the only thing that at least gets closer to the truth. So whether it's gravity, whether laws of the universe, whatever it is, at least it is something that is going somewhere, and you can have it as a basis for your thinking, you know? But I would never say that I don't like science because it's not necessarily really the truth, but I like it because it tries to get a little bit closer. And also these laws of the universe.
It's also more fact-based.
Yeah, if you have these laws of the universe in your mind, they can kind of help you in your thinking and even in the way you live. So I always have this appreciation for science and philosophy because they're trying to understand the world, you know.
They kind of give you an answer.
An answer. Maybe it's not the truth, but it's
an answer. It's an answer.
Yeah, it's an answer.
It's not just an answer, but it also opens up the door for.
It's an answer, and it's not only make believe like what religion tried to do, or
but
you know.
Even then, like look at it like this: it provides an answer, and it kind of opens up the door for wonders.
Yeah.
So in the sense of like it kind of fulfills the need for our existence. You know, with philosophy, you can always ask open-ended questions that could literally lead nowhere.
Yeah.
You know. And that kind of gives you a little bit of wonder in life, which is why a lot of people like philosophy. And science is kind of the opposite of just giving you straight facts of like this is this and this is not this is how it works. This is not how it works.
But science, it gives you the fact, but it never pretends that it's the ultimate fact. If you ask many at least the truthful scientists who are not based on their ego, you would ask them a lot of questions. They would tell you, I don't know. We don't know yet. They don't pretend to give you an answer that it's not true.
About the scientific facts that we've got so far, like, you know, this is facts, and this kind of satisfies also another need of a human being. That's why a lot of people get hooked up on science as well.
Yeah.
It just like one answers a lot of questions and one leaves room for many questions.
And I mean, you could say philosophy is the opposite of science, but you
Exactly.
can even approach it in the law of polarity. I think they're both important. I like to read more about both and think about the world from
Mhm.
both ways. I think both have a lot of benefits, but I would never say that science is bullshit or science is not important, because it really leads to many different ways of thinking. And you can say the same thing about philosophy. But as you said, philosophy is more open-ended, which is, maybe we're going off topic.
We are going definitely going off topic here.
I think that's it for at least the laws that we wanted to talk about today. Do you have anything to say about them?
Nope. I
All
think
right.
we kind of covered what we wanted to cover for the most
All
part.
right.
But we definitely need to, maybe in the next
We'll
episode, we
come
can
back to
talk
this for sure.
not just laws, but also bring in time into perspective.
Yeah,
because
that's a big topic.
That's a big topic that I want to get into.
All right. So thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you in the next episode.
See you in the next one.